Hi, I'm Aannsha Jones. Thank you for visiting. In this video, you can see how I wet felt a seamless glasses case with unspun wool around a resist. This technique can be used to make a mobile phone case, purse, bag or slippers. The ideas are limitless once you learn how. The video takes time to show you the steps you need to take to get a great smooth edge all round. Ready? Then let's begin. My husband has asked me to make a glasses case for his sonnies that he wants to take on the boat with him. So I've chosen some colours that I think he's going to like, and I'm going for pretty much greens because he's a bit of a green loving person. I've got a bit of black. He often wears black, so that would sort of just help to tie it in with anything he's wearing if he carries it with him, and some hand-dyed silk rovings. So the other things that I'm going to be using for this project, and that you're going to be needing if you're going to be doing a similar thing, is you might want some rubber gloves, water. I've got an old bowl that I use for all of my arty projects. Look, here's some paint. You're going to be using warm and sometimes hot and sometimes cold water, so if you can be worked by a sink, that's great. If not, then just put it into a little bowl or container. You're going to want to resist. Now, for my Patreon supporters, I will be putting the step-by-step formula that I use to work out the correct size of the resist, because if you've worked with the wet felting technique, you realise that you have to start out with making a piece of felt that's larger than the finished product, because there is shrinkage, and it can be up to 30, 40 or 50%, just depending on how hard you work the material, what kind of wool you're using, how many layers you've got, and whether you are very heavy-handed or light-handed when you're actually working the material. So I've got a resist here that is going to shrink down to the size that I want for my husband's glasses case. To find out how I got this specific size and how you can also work out your own, head over to Patreon, and there's a link below. Your support can help me to buy the materials that I use to show you how to make these videos. It can cost as little as $1 a month to support me. All of my videos are always free, and that's a given. And as a way of saying thank you to the people who do support me in doing this, I put this kind of information up, the extra information, like how to work out what size of resist you need. Head over to Patreon and find out a little bit more about it. So for now, this is the resist I'm going to use. I'm also going to be using soap and a noodle with some elastic bands, plus the ever handy white vinegar, and I've got a couple of pieces of bubble wrap. So this big piece of bubble wrap is going to be the working layer that I just work on, and this is going to be the bubble wrap that I use when I'm actually rolling the wool around the resist. And obviously you're going to need towels because it's a wet job, and if you over wet things, the towel's great because it soaks up all the water. If you want to spray the water on, or if you want to just shake it on, use some kind of water container. And also something I use when I get into the actual fulling process is I use a glass that's got a bobbly bottom, because it's great. It just gives, it's soft, and it just gives that extra resistance and friction that helps the wool to start to grab together. As the hooks open, as it gets stressed, it all grabs together and then it starts to shrink, and this little baby really helps. So that's about it. So I'll just tidy it all up and we'll come back with a nice clean slate and we'll start. What we're going to do is we're going to build up multiple layers on each side and fold the layers over the edge so that you've got a lovely seamless finished product. I'm going to start with a nice mint green for the inside. Basically just starting to layer it out. Oh, that was really good, wasn't it? I chose a towel the same colour, so I can't really see where the edge of the wool is, but you want sort of about that much edge so it'll go over the resist. Now the resist that I'm using today I've made from a piece of really thick polystyrene packing, and I find that that's really good because it's pliable, so it'll bend as you're working with it, but it's also thick enough that you can feel it underneath, and unlike cardboard it won't go soggy. You can reuse it if you want to make a similar project later. So now I've done that, and I'm going to lay them out at 90 degrees to the first layer, and I'm going to overlap the top as well, because what I'll be doing is eventually I will cut a hole in the top. So that's 2 layers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover it with a piece of netting, which I forgot to tell you about. And then I'm going to put some gloves on. Now how long these gloves are going to stay on my hands, I don't know, because I prefer working bare-handed, because I love the whole tactile feel of working with the felt. You sort of really get the feel of where it's at in the processing of the material. So I'm just dissolving some soap in the water that I had out before that I showed you. And what I'm just gonna do is I'm just going to, just with my fingers, drip it on. Now if you want you can spray it, I just find that's too slow. So just wet enough that it wets all of the wool, and I'm just going to give it just a little bit of a rub with the soap, and then just really gently just rub it. Basically all I'm doing right now is I'm just getting it so that it's able to be uncovered and then turned over, because I want to repeat this, what I've done here on the other side, and then we're going to build up layers so that it becomes a nice sturdy case. Alright, so that'll do. So now what we're going to do is we're going to uncover. Let's see if I can do it from this side, you might see what's going on better. There we are. So you'll notice that the wool very quickly starts to migrate through the netting, so it's good practice anyway when you're making felt, just to keep pulling the netting back. So now we're just going to flip it real quick like that, and then just fold this up and over onto the other side. So we're starting to fill in, if you like, the sides and the edges. So this saves you from having to stitch it together. I'm going to take these off because wool sticks to anything that's even got a little bit of moisture, and it's so it's going to be much easier if I do it this way. Wool doesn't weigh very much, so you actually don't need a lot of weight of wool. You know, if you're sort of measuring it out, probably about, I don't know, 10 or 20 grams. So sometimes the wool's got little bits of vegetable matter in it because, you know, it comes off a sheep, and sheep grow in fields. So you're going to get part of the field in it sometimes. Just get a real feel for it when your hands are in direct contact with the material. I'll just have to use lots of really good hand cream later. The soap is helping to stress the wool fibres, so the fibres open up and sort of little hooks or barbs spread out, and then they all get tangled together, and that is what felts the wool together, and it becomes a matted material. And then as you work it, the wool eventually shrinks, and that's called fulling, and that's when it becomes a really durable, thick, water resistant material, which is why it's been used for centuries. And it's used in things like manufacturing, you know, in when they sometimes put belts in between cogs of wheels and things like that. It's amazing, amazing to think that it comes off the back of a sheep or other animals, you know, not just sheep, but also alpacas, and you can get Angora rabbits and other types of animals. Escape my memory right now, but yeah, I generally use wool actually. And then there are different kinds of wool as well. So this is merino wool that I'm using, and this is very fine, soft wool. For this project, you could actually use wool that is coarser, where merino wool can be anywhere from say 19 to 22, give or take, microns. There are other wools from different different breeds of sheep that have thicker microns, so they would be, you know, say 22 to 28, and they're coarser. Some of them have got curls, and so you can use the curls and leave the curls to create a really lovely part of the design of what you're trying to make. Okay, so I've turned it. Alright, so it's great. Now we can start building up the outside layer. So I'm going to make one layer. At the top of it, I'm going to start with this lovely aqua green emerald. So I'm going to put a bit of dark black, and I don't think I'll put it evenly. I'll make a sort of wave. Now, making that slightly longer, and I might just put a little bit there. So I'll also put some more of this emerald here. Now obviously this isn't exactly perpendicular, because I'm just waving the shape so that it flows. And what's going to happen is these edges are going to migrate together, so there'll be a bit of a variegation with the two colours, which I think will look really nice. Now if you wanted a straight edge, you could use pre-felt, which is where you sort of get the felt up to a certain level, almost like what we've just done underneath with the other layers, and then you can cut it out and put it down. Depending on what stage of the felting process you put it onto the thing that you're making will depend on how much it keeps its shape. But for now we're just going to play with wool like this. Okay, so that's that layer. And we'll go back to the black, and just for a little bit of sheen, luster on this side, I've got some mixed wool with silk here, so it's got a few different colours which will blend with this. So I'm just going to pop this just to give the essence of waves, and I'm going to carry those around. See, it's a bit like working with watercolour. You never quite know. I mean, yes, you can be really specific as to how it's going to turn out, but if you're just doing sort of loose technique like this, it's a bit like watercolour, and you know how the coloured wool migrates can really be a lovely surprise. As I said, if you wanted to have a really specific finish, then working with pre-felts are a really good way of achieving that. I'm getting excited now. There we go. So, it's looking exciting already, isn't it? So I'm going to flip that over for the last time, probably. And we're going to just put this up here like this. So we're going to go here. Oh, it's too long. So I'm going to still give it a sort of wispy finish, and I'm going to just pull this like that, and then I'm going to get this blue emerald. Okay. So this I'm going to make a little bit more defined in terms of the edging, although there'll still be some bleeding across, I reckon. So now what I want to do is add more of this, and again I'm going to make waves. These I'm going to make a little bit more defined, so a bit of twisting. And this one. I'm going to get some different wool. So here's a different shade. So really build up a sense of waves here. Just not anything majorly defined. What I might do, might just to add a bit of definition. Here's some hand-dyed silk roving. So I was going to make it more greeny, but it's turning into more of an oceany type thing. So here's some beautiful hand-dyed turquoise silk rovings. Okay, that looks rather nice, doesn't it? Now, the thing with silk is it doesn't felt. So it's always good just to put a few little wisps of wool, which migrates over it and acts like glue and sticks it to the rest of the fibre. So finally, let's cover this up. It's such a wonderful creative process. Felting is very forgiving. You can work fairly quickly with it, and unless you're looking for, like I said, looking for a really specific result, there really aren't too many mistakes you can make with it. So see how it's just gone over the edge there? I'm going to turn it over, and that actually isn't too bad, is it? See how it matches the other side? That's pretty good. Let's get rubbing. So now basically it's just rubbing and pulling back the netting so that the fibres don't migrate through it, and then continuing rubbing and pulling it back, and then eventually it will felt, and then you'll keep working it and eventually it will fall. So I'll just keep going with this and I'll see it at the next stage. It's holding together quite well. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it on the bubble wrap like this, and then I'm going to put it around this little fella. This just speeds up the process. The thing with this is if you roll it 100 ways that way, you have to unroll it, turn it around and roll it 100 ways the other way, and then do the same on the edges as well, so that it gets an even shrinkage. It's looking good. So I'm going to give it a bit of a squeeze like this now. Just to work the inner layers really well. Right, so I'm going to cut this now. This is the top on the scissors. Through the resist, that's good. Okay, so it's nice. What I think I might do is cut down the sides just a bit, just to make it easy opening. Like that. And then turn it inside out. It's actually felting quite well on the inside as well, which is great. It's like a glove puppet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub it in this direction because I want it to shrink more this way than widthways. And what we also want to do is just secure these edges. Great. Just do these really well. These bits, the corners really well. So the idea is to rub it in all directions evenly so that it shrinks evenly. But in particular the length, because I think I'd rather have it shrinking a bit more lengthwise, but so he's still got that width, ease of access to his glasses. See, it's getting there. That's pretty good. So I'm going to rinse this now, because rinsing will probably shrink it a little bit more. So basically what we're going to do with this now is just rinse it in lukewarm water until all the soap is gone, and then we'll soak it in some water, lukewarm water that has a little bit of white vinegar in it, and then we're done. Clean water, and I'm just going to put some vinegar in there, because wool really likes an acid environment and will help it to last really well. So I'm going to first of all show you how well those are now, and I'm going to soak it in this bowl of water with vinegar and just let it soak that up. So I'm going to let that rest in there, just let the fibres relax and soak up the acid, and they'll be very happy. It'll be a very happy felt glasses case. Okay, so that's been soaking for a while, so I'm just going to squeeze it out, because this is quite thick. It'll take a while to dry. It's winter here. Slide it. That'll keep them from being damaged as well. Here we are. If you've enjoyed watching this video and you'd like to see more, please click on the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to ding that bell, because that's what will notify you when a new video comes out. Stay tuned for more videos on eco printing, felting, and also making jewellery out of wire wrapping, shells and beach glass. This is Aannsha Jones. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, over and out.